This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Coffee Fuel Store.
Interrupting all programs.
This is Radio UNK. Radio UNK. Hey, it's me, DJ Unicorn, and you're listening to Radio UNK. Let's get amped with Jeff Hans. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about things today.
Yeah, this is awesome. So you are a guitarist and a bass player and film. Can I call you filmmaker or videographer?
Both.
Both apply?
Yes.
All right.
I do weddings. I also do short films and work with bands in the local area as well.
So tell the listeners about the song that dropped on the 28th, correct?
Yes, on Friday. Yep.
Awesome.
Friday.
Let these people know who you are.
Sure. My name's Jeff. I started a project called Astronaut Country Club. It's my first solo project. I've worked on music pretty much since high school. I've been in several different bands, one that was particularly successful until it wasn't, called How to Be a Hero. People who were from the Essex, Maryland area probably know the name because we were prominent in most of the major venues that are in Baltimore. We also put out an album, which is kind of an uncommon thing for a lot of local bands because they don't really get to that point that they can make an album. So we were super excited to be able to do that. But this is the first time that I'm doing something completely on my own. I love pop punk music. There's not a whole lot of bands that are doing pop punk music. I decided that it was time for me to kind of take my own foray into it. First album that I can remember listening to front to back and just blowing my mind was Green Day Dookie. My brother had that album, and he was a fan of Green Day, but he wasn't a huge fan of Green Day. And this was like, 94 when that album came out. So I was only 6, so I probably shouldn't have been listening to the album. But when you're 6, you don't really get a full concept of what the world is. But listening to that album and being able to hear a band's body of work from start to finish, it's all the same band. That kind of blew my mind that you could even do that.
Right.
It just, I don't know, it changed something in me. It stuck with me. I didn't go immediately into making music. But once I got to high school and I met people that were playing guitar, and I had a friend that was starting to learn guitar, his uncle had given him a guitar. And the funniest memory that I have of that time is that he was trying to learn how to play guitar. And I think he was learning Smoke on the Water, one of those standards that everybody learns.
Classic, right? Yeah.
And I grabbed the guitar from him and I started trying to mimic what he was doing, and I started playing it better than he was doing it. And his mom came in and said, "Matt, that's really good." And I'm like, it was me. So that kind of started the wheels turning of, hey, maybe this is something I could potentially do. My father was a drummer. He always had music and rock music in the house. My mom loved country music, so I did get the mama little country, daddy little rock and roll.
Nice.
So I always had music in the house, and my mom sang. She still sings to this day. So it's something that has always been in the house, but until high school, and I actually got around people that enjoyed this type of music and wanted to make this type of music that actually resonated with me. The lyrics were the biggest piece for me. Then I started actually buckling down and saying, hey guys, we could actually make our own music. We can do the music that we want to hear.
So are you from Maryland, born, bred, and raised?
Yes, I am.
So I'm going to ask a silly question here because I love Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay.
So how influential is Edgar Allan Poe in the area? Is he prolific? Did you write a song about Poe or with his lines or anything like that? How is that influence?
He hasn't had a whole lot of influence on me in particular, but my wife is a huge horror fan. and she's actually she used to model, and she took photos at the Poe cemetery, the cemetery where Poe was laid to rest. And we have friends that are obsessed with Poe. I've read a lot of his work, but as far as influence, he's a little too macabre, a little too dark for me. I try to keep things happy sad, as I call it.
I like it. And tying back to Green Day, did you get a chance, have you ever had a chance to see American Idiot on the musical?
I have not, but we had an opportunity to see, my wife bought me tickets to see Green Day live at, we were in, I actually have it was Cleveland, Ohio. It's funny because funny story about that show. I have it in my music room, the set list. A woman had, I guess, gotten the set list. She's going to, if she ever sees this, she's going to be super mad. She had gotten the set list, was looking at the merch table, set the set list down, and just walked away. And my wife saw it with her keen eye and grabbed it up and brought it to me. So it's hanging up in my room. And she actually, I have a little shrine here. I'll try and show you. There's a little Green Day shrine.
Oh, very cool.
It's got, I've got a signed guitar here. I've got their Dookie album, and this is the set list from the show that we went to, along with some of the armbands and the tickets and the Green Day pops that she bought for me as well. So
very cool. Yeah, your room is awesome, by the way. All those guitars
thank you.
behind you, and geez, if that doesn't inspire you to write, like,
this is the room. This is the room that I spend a lot of time in, whether it be video work or it be audio work. This is where I spend most of my time. Yeah,
that's a great setup.
Thank you.
So to let the listeners know, there's literally, and the colors of the guitars are just, they
sure.
pop. I love it. So you've got a purple one, a green one. I believe there's another green one behind you. Yes. Yep. So there are several colorful guitars hanging. There's is that a practice drum set? A practice set?
It is an electronic kit. I got it because I record drums via MIDI.
Very cool. Very cool. So you are just like, so how many instruments do you play?
Expertly or novicely?
In general.
Okay, so I do play guitar is my primary. I do vocals. I can play drums, but not as well as I'd like to. So a lot of my drumming, I get a basic idea on the kit, and then I'll edit that via MIDI so that I can get a better feel for what I'm actually trying to achieve, because I'm not that great at drums. I play piano as well. That's another one that I kind of got started when I was 30, actually. But it's something that I've always enjoyed, and learning what I learned on piano made me a better guitarist, made me understand the notes on the guitar better. It actually made me a better musician altogether. So I wish I would have started with piano years ago.
Very cool.
I play bass for Distance to Dawn, which is a metal group, and we have a female singer. We have Sam, who actually lives in Indiana, and he flies out for shows. So It's an interesting dynamic with the reason it's called Distance to Dawn is because that distance between Sam and Lexi is the lead singer, and Vic is the drummer. And they've all known each other for so long. They're much younger than I am. I feel like the old man of the group. But since I started with them, I feel like I feel like this has been a catalyst for me to move forward with music, and I love working with them.
Very cool. And so how did your solo project, Astronaut Country Club, come about? Because your logo for that is awesome, by the way. Like,
Thank you.
I when I was playing on your page, I literally was just cracking up looking at the logo. And I love how you also have the astronaut with the martini with the Saturn. Like, so you have a couple different logos. So how did you come up with Astronaut Country Club? Have you noticed how Coffee Fueled Stories doesn't have any ads? That's because I work tirelessly to keep this show alive. After 3 years on my own, I've decided I need to ask for your help. I've never asked anyone to subscribe. I've never asked anyone to leave a review. I've never asked anyone to rate the show. And I've never asked anyone to pay to listen. There are a few ways you can help support the show. I've created a Patreon page, Coffee Fueled Stories, and a subscription section on my podcast website. It's simple to support and help me keep my dream alive. Just click the link in the show notes to set up your paid subscription option. It's that easy. Thank you for your support.
I've always been obsessed with the idea of space and space travel and the eventuality of humankind moving to another planet. So it's always Interstellar was like a huge movie for me. Like I thought that was one of the coolest concepts ever of explaining what it would take to offload an entire planet of humans to another planet. But then this billionaire space race kind of started where, Elon Musk and all of these guys that have all this money are starting to make their way into space and charge people to go into space and do space travel. And I was thinking to myself, is it eventually going to get to the point that it's just rich people that get to go to space and tour through space, and that's all you have? And how ridiculous would it be if there was a whole country club of people who call themselves astronauts, but they're really just tourists? So I thought if I were the first one to start one, wouldn't that be hilarious?
That is awesome. And especially because it's the astronaut playing polo.
Right.
Like that. So that just makes sense, because I was like, I know there's a story behind this logo and behind this name. And that is absolutely brilliant. That is
Thank
really
you.
cool. And so the first song that you did that just dropped on Friday is
Running Out of Rhymes.
But so what I'd like to do is do just a little bit of a snippet, and then have you talk about it, and then actually play the song if you're okay with that.
Okay, sure.
So how did this song come about? If you'd like to tell the listeners a little bit more about the song, now that we're actually going to be able to play it in the show. Sure.
It was heavily influenced by listening to Blink-182's self-titled album, and a lot of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a band named Cartel, but they're a pop punk group that was popular in the early 2000s. They had 2 or 3 hits, and then the second album that they came out with was actually part of a project called Band in a Bubble. I don't know if you remember that. It was through Dr. Pepper, but I think it was produced by MTV or VH1, one of those. And they actually wrote an entire album in a month. They just stayed in this bubble area and wrote this album. And it's one of those 50-50 albums. You either love it or you hate it. But it was one of those that I was listening to a lot. And the concept for the lyrics itself has a lot to do with, I'm getting older as far as music is concerned. I definitely feel like the old man when I go and play shows with a lot of the groups that are up and coming. And I feel like I didn't give myself a fair shot when I was younger. So I want to kind of tell my own story. But I feel like I'm also running out of ways to tell that story and time to tell that story. So I do want to travel the world. I do want to meet people. I do want to make those connections. I do want to hear people's stories, and I want to encourage other people to tell their stories. But I feel like as I'm getting older, there's less and less time to do those things. So that's kind of it's kind of a coming of age, getting older, grappling with the idea of my mortality and all of that stuff. So,
did you record the whole song, at all of the pieces for, did you overlay it? So you would lay down the guitar and then lay down the drums and then lay down the vocals. So you literally did all of that?
Yeah, all of it's here.
In that room right there?
Yep.
Oh, very cool. The opening of the song, which of course is going to be awesome because now I can actually play it in the background. The guitar sound for that, there's something very, I know this is going to sound silly, but kind of astronaut-like about it. You know, again, because I had no idea what we were, like, I had no idea about anything.
Right.
Literally, you and I met you literally yesterday on Instagram.
We had a 30-second talk about cats.
We did. And which we're going to get to as well.
Okay.
Drax and Eve.
Yeah.
And so, this was kind of like a crash course, so to speak, in you. So this, I'm learning you just as much as the listeners are learning right now.
Okay, right.
And so it's very nice to meet you, by the way.
It is very nice to meet you as well.
And so thank you for such short notice. I love it.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
I was listening to the song, and because you have like snippets of it, throughout your page. And every time that guitar solo would start in the very beginning, I was just like, this is really cool. Like, I really like this. Like, that's got a great sound to it. And it's very inviting. It's very welcoming. And it's not jarring. It doesn't give you a sense of like, it's not ominous. It's very, like I said, and I was just like, wow, so I'm like, what is this song about? Where is this song going? And so, as when you explained it and you talk about it, like all of the pieces obviously make sense now. And so thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for sharing your song.
Sure.
And where can people listen to this, buy it, or how do they consume it?
If you listen to music, anywhere that you listen to music, it is currently there. So I'm not going to plug any specific one because you can listen to it literally anywhere. And the great thing about the uniqueness of the name is that now when you Google Astronaut Country Club, I am the first thing that comes up.
Nice. I know SEO is like so, like, I really need to get on that. I feel like
difficult. It's difficult.
Again, learning all of these things. So as you were saying, you learned how to play piano at 30. I learned how to podcast at 51. I feel like I'm such an old lady. So you were explaining about how, do you watch Gilmore Girls, or does your wife watch Are you familiar with Gilmore?
We're not fans.
Okay.
I've seen it.
Okay. You know who Sebastian Bach is, though, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So he plays a character, a guitarist, with the young kids, and he's like the old man of the group. So as you were explaining it, I kind of was like, oh, the best analogy I can think of is Sebastian Bach hanging out with a bunch of high school kids, playing in a band. So I feel like I'm that way with the podcast world. There's everybody literally, starting all of this. I feel like I'm 20 years behind it, but you know what? I always wanted to be a DJ. I always wanted to share bands. I always wanted to talk with musicians. So here I am at 53, living my best life, just like you. So
it's never too late.
It's never
you can do
too
it
late.
whenever.
Exactly.
And the thing that I was talking about with friends the other day was the fact that you look at like kind of the old people in nursing homes now, and then compare it to like when I'm going to be in a nursing home, I'm probably still going to be making music. Because the technology's there now that you can continue to do that. And there are people now that use AI in forms that I've never seen before, where if they want to test out a vocal melody, they'll create a mapping of their voice and then use their mapping of their vocals to create melodies so they can preview what they want to do with their vocals. The technology is only going to get better. So I may be able to replicate my voice now into something 30 years from now, which is, I have no idea where the technology is going, but that's amazing.
It's crazy. And I love that you say that, because I love Ray Bradbury. And when I read his books as a teenager, and when he would talk about the technology, and we actually have some of that technology today, and we are using it and consuming it. And we're a part of it. And it's so crazy because, he wrote that like back in the 50s.
Right.
And it exists.
Saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. And so, and I feel like you and I are probably going to be like the same kind of people in the old people's home. I'm still going to be rocking out. There was actually somebody that I saw on Instagram, and it made me think of, remember when you had your bikes as a kid and you put the cards and and you had that, and I was like, my wheelchair is going to have a card with with a pin on it, and you're gonna hear.
Yeah, for
I was
sure.
like, that's gonna be me rolling through. I'm like, coming through, and same thing. Like I probably will have multicolored hair. Like my hair is like, I'm going down, rocking,
I'm putting a
right?
full Mopar exhaust on my on my wheelchair.
I
They're just
mean,
gonna have to deal with it.
exactly. So now, we were talking about cats.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you about, do you play music for your cats? Will they sit and listen while you Kevin Bacon, I guess, plays to his goats.
Mhm.
So do you play to your cats?
I'm too loud. So there's a door to my left here, and they will, if the door is ever open, they will kind of sneak in and take a look around. They don't come in here that often, but they'll come in and they'll look and they'll see something. And as soon as any movement or noise is made, they're out the door. They do not want. They know that either the guitar's coming on or the speakers are going to be playing something. They are out of the door immediately.
They are not punk rockers,
No,
unfortunately.
no.
That's awesome. They're so cute, though. They are absolutely
Oh, thank you.
adorable.
Yeah, my wife definitely has a lot more pictures of them on her Instagram. I'll have to send it to you. You can peruse the cats.
Absolutely. Jeff,
Yes.
is there anything else that you would like to let the listeners know?
This time around, when I'm working on music, I have discovered. I also study human psychology as like a hobby, just because people are crazy, and I kind of understand why they do the things that they do. And this time around, I've come to the understanding that some people, when they hear a vocal, it's not just the words that are being sung; it's the melody as an instrument. So certain people will hear a vocal as you or I would hear a violin in a song. So it's a highlighted melody. So the melody becomes primary over what the lyrics are. So I have to keep that in mind when I write songs, that there are an entire group of people that are listening to the lyrics, but they aren't hearing the lyrics. They're hearing this melody. And then there's an entire group of people that also hear the lyrics and want to connect with the lyrics. And that's the most important piece for them. So knowing that there are two different types of people, you have to accommodate both of those. So it makes it to now for me, it makes it even more difficult to write songs because I'm so focused on melody and lyric.
Wow, that's and I don't know if you've studied this, but I've heard, and I don't know like what the term is, but my understanding is there are even people who, when they hear something, they actually see color.
Oh, synesthesia.
Yes,
Synesthesia?
yes. So if you played like an A on the piano, someone might see green. Like
Right.
it just, there's this connection between sound and color.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just fascinating. That's just like, I'm like, wow, how
To me,
crazy is that?
it's hard for you to imagine if you don't experience it. Like, it's hard for me to imagine only hearing lyrics as a melody and not hearing the actual words. I
Yeah.
can't fathom that, but I know that there are people that do. So
Yeah.
there's a band that's out of Canada. It's twin sisters, and I don't think they're actually have. I met them a while ago. Oh, it's called Courage, My Love, but now they go by Soft Cult. But they're twins out of Canada, and I believe they have an album that was called Synesthesia,
Very cool.
which is pretty neat.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's fascinating. The fact that you even know what the term is called is even like, I'm just like,
I told you,
I was like,
I study it as a hobby, but I know a
I
lot
love
about
it. It's so cool. So, Jeff,
Yes.
is there anything else that you would like to share with? So you play in 2 other bands.
Yes.
And then you do yourself. So that's 3 musical projects you got going on there.
Yes.
Do you have anything coming up that you would like to announce?
Well, I can tell you that the next show that I'm going to be doing is going to be at Zen West near Towson, Maryland. And I'm playing guitar for Pat Rennie. The show is going to be 3 bands. It's all going to be pop music. There's actually a costume contest that's going along with this. It's primary colors. So if you wear a primary color, You can potentially win some prizes there. They're also doing karaoke. So in addition to playing guitar for Pat Rennie, I may do a karaoke song as well, maybe with some friends.
You
So
have some.
that show is going to be really fun. We're actually celebrating someone named Mackenzie. It's her birthday. She's in the music sphere, the Baltimore music sphere. A lot of people know her, and so we're doing a celebration party. It's a primary color party. It's going to be a really fun show.
Very cool. That sounds exciting. Do you have for the karaoke, do you have a song in mind? Like, I've never done karaoke, but if I ever did karaoke, I at least have like 2 or 3 songs that I would have the courage, me, because I'm not a singer. So do you know what you're going to sing for your karaoke show performance?
I think I might do what's that song? It's is it called Tequila?
That's awesome.
No, I'm kidding.
I was like, I just think of Pee Wee Herman doing the little tequila dance, you know.
Tequila. No, I'm kidding. So there's a song that seems to go over well with everybody. I think we were all born knowing the words to it somehow, even before the song was written. Mr. Brightside.
Oh, very nice.
The Killers.
Yeah.
Whatever reason that song people just go nuts for. So if nobody else picks it, I'm going to do that.
Very cool. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for hanging out. And again, I know this was like super last minute. So
yeah, I appreciate you accommodating me and getting me in so quickly.
Thank you. Well, so the original show I was going to do was going to be a solo host where I literally was going to say, and this is one of my favorite songs by this band. And then I would play the song and then so I was going to do like a DJ episode.
Right.
But I decided, I was like, you know what? I was like, you just dropped your song. I love your song. And you had the time frame, so I was like, you know what? I can put the solo host show on whenever. Let's get this guy out there. Let's get you some exposure.
And you're the first one.
You.
You're the first one.
This is so cool. So this is
awesome.
A win-win. I love it. I love it. Thank you for tuning in to Radio UNK, a special feature of Coffee Fueled Stories. I'm your host, DJ Unicorn. And today I had the pleasure of speaking with Jeff Huntz about his new song, Running Out of Rhymes. And I was so afraid that we were going to run out of time chatting that I forgot to ask him to say the tagline. And he blew me away because I asked, hey, could you please send me a recording of the tagline, Let's Get Amped? And he actually was so awesome and such a rock star. He actually recorded a new tagline outro song. Thank you so much, Jeff. You are a total rock star, and I can't thank you enough. So check out the song he created for the tagline.
Let's get amped.